And welcome back to this week's episode of Breakthrough, a Dale Carnegie podcast. And if you're a student, a parent, or an educator, you're in the right place because we have like-minded people that are looking to go on their ideals on how to just show up as better leaders. And I am really excited about our guest today. And it's a senior vice president at Live Oak Bank and heads up veterinary and pet care facility lending. And Brandy Keck and I met at a high impact presentation skills program. And what I loved about Brandy was you shared that cat meme, Brandy, remember? And then we started back and forth in, and I just loved the joyfulness and the spirit that you bring and the culture you've created amongst your team. So if you don't mind just starting out, just tell us a bit about you and what lights the fire in your heart as you engage with people. Please, would you just share a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, for sure. One, I love cat memes. I think for some reason, the internet is flooded with these amazing cat memes that'll just give you any scenario where you need to respond. And I also feel like instead of just being like, wow, congrats, thank you, whatever, a meme that's like doing some funky thing with a cat is just clutch. You'll get those from me a lot. I've been at Live Oak Bank for the last 6 years, came in as a dental lender and moved over to the head of our vet team a couple years ago. But I had known about Live Oak for a really long time, a part of my career path well before now. And I think it just kind of became serendipitous how I got to this point. Prior to this, I was with a national commercial real estate firm that specialized in dental and vet real estate. Prior to that, Bank of America, Practice Solutions, another dental medical vet division. So a lot of my life is in dental medical vet, but that was not the plan whatsoever for a career path for me. I'm from a very, very small hick town in the middle of nowhere, Ohio. I think we looked this up not that long ago. Somebody was questioning me on who had the smaller town in which they're from. So we did it by your high school zip code and the population there. And it was under 1,000, I believe it was 800. So very small town, big plans though. I wanted to be like Aaron Andrews. I wanted to be a sideline reporter. So that was the plan. Did a mass media major, minored in psychology. I was working at a local radio station, DJing. I was sports writing for my local newspaper. Just wanted to get that stuff on my resume. Ended up taking a temporary position with the Cleveland Cavaliers, trying to turn that into something, again, making that, just building the resume. That was the plan. I didn't really have a good, solid way to go about it. I just figured these names, these companies on here would help me. So I got there when LeBron got there in 2005.
Whoop, whoop.
And God bless, fantastic years for a Cleveland fan. A little rough on the front end. We did get swept by San Antonio our first time, so that was painful. But ended up in a kind of a whirlwind there. Some people left. I ended up in a sales position pretty quickly. Got kept on with the organization, and I thought sales people were like slick used car salesman, gross, all of it. But it wasn't. You can do it your own way. You can have your own personality. You can have your own spin and not be that person. And I kind of fell in love with the sales game. So major career shift to all of it and the path I took with everything. But yeah, sales is my jam now.
Love it. I always talk about selling. Selling is a life skill, right? We apply these things in every part of our daily lives. One of the things you said, I really wanted this on my resume. So it sounds like you were very intentional there.
Yeah.
And with the young adults leaving college or going from high school to college, maybe there's this intentionality that might be missing, or maybe they lack some motivation. What are the things that you would say is important that worked for you to keep that intentionality going, so that you could be really deliberate, so that you could show up as your best self in your career going forward?
I had no freaking clue what I was doing. I just knew this small town in Ohio wasn't me. There was something bigger, and I didn't know how to go out and get it. I didn't know what was even possible. I just thought from people that I had heard from or adults that I had in my life, like, oh, you've got these names or things you've done, it will look or sound cooler than it might have actually been. You might have been just I could have been just sweeping the floors at the radio station, but who the hell knows that? You know, all you're seeing is Rock 107 was on my resume. So to me, taking any and every opportunity you possibly have, do it. I think that the more you can show that you are trying things, that you're putting yourself out there, that you've got ambition. I mean, I did, while I was working for the Cavs, I did game day credit card sales for Cleveland Browns games, which for the record is a miserable job. You're in the team shop during a Browns game. I don't know if you've ever been to a Browns game, but crazy fans, the best in the country. They don't want anything to do with buying a credit card or getting a credit card while they're at the team shop. But again, I could put Cleveland Browns on my resume, even though all I was doing was game day stuff the day of, So my advice would be, do as much as you can to separate yourself. Do things that other people aren't doing or aren't willing to do, so that you get noticed. You have to be memorable.
Brandy, that word memorable stuck out to me, because in this day and age, we're trying to compete with other people to kind of stand out, right? It's all about standing out. And there's a theme of courage that I heard in your answer also, that it really takes some courage to step out, to maybe try things that seem different or scary. And for young adults just entering the workplace, they may think, am I really capable of working there? Yeah. Am I really enough for that role? So what would you say to kind of muster up the courage to take risks, for someone that might be hesitant in doing so?
Fake it till you make it. That was my mentality, still is my mentality. The stuff that I don't know how to do, other people don't know. I think we've got this perception that people can see your weaknesses or know where you've got these shortcomings. Nobody knows. So fake it until you feel like you've figured it out and you've got this thing down. Put yourself out there. I mean, the younger me was very self-conscious, was constantly worried about what people would think of me and stuff like that. But I thought if I kept putting myself out there, if I kept getting out of my comfort zone, eventually it probably wouldn't bother me anymore. Eventually I could just be the weird me, and who cares? Like, this is just me and I don't care anymore. And it works. The more you put yourself outside of your comfort zone, the quicker you don't have those insecurities or those feelings like you're not good enough, because who cares? Nobody knows what you can or can't do. And eventually you just get really used to the uncomfortable and crush it.
And I have 3 daughters of my own. And to be honest with you, when they were a lot younger, I could do silly, because I like to be silly and have fun all the time out there in the community. And now they're starting to say, hey, Dad, don't do that, don't do that. So when you share, hey, I just had these insecurities, there's a lot of young adults, men and women, right, that have these insecurities, that don't want to take these risks. How would you encourage them, or what would you say to educators, to parents, and maybe to that young adult themselves, do this because that'll be your benefit? What might some of the things be that you would say to an individual that felt that same or that similar insecurity that you had in your younger years?
I think it's interesting. Certainly, with years of getting older comes more wisdom to all that stuff. And some of it is just kind of having to go through it yourself. But I do feel like if younger people were to pay attention to the people that they really like, that they respect and admire, it's probably the people that are a little weird, that are a little out there or perceived weird, goofy, being themselves, energetic, fiery, you don't know what to expect. So if you're looking at that, and those are the people that you're actually attracted to, those are the type of people you want to be around. The more authentically you can be, the better version you're going to be for everyone in your life. So if you can start thinking about being just the best version of you, exactly who you are, meet yourself where you are, and really just fold into that, the happier you're going to be. I don't think this is specific to business. I think this is across the board, professionally, personally, within relationships. The more you can show up authentically as yourself, the happier you're going to be.
Wow, I'll be the best version of you. I mean, if there was solid advice, I mean, that is something that I think we should just, if I listen to and just be the best you can be. In our learning, we always say to people, Show up as your authentic self. We want to unlock that you that's there, that hidden person. And I think it's beautiful that you're sharing that. So think about the people that you admired. Who was someone maybe that as you were starting your career or going through college or even high school that you looked at them and at this university and that person inspired me? Or who was the person that maybe encouraged you to achieve a breakthrough in your life, or gave you that inspiration to be the person that you paid attention, that you wanted to emulate, maybe gave you that?
Yeah, I think I've been really fortunate and lucky with having mentors and role models my whole life. I have two older brothers, and my oldest brother, we joke a lot. He's a lieutenant colonel in the Air Force, C-17 pilot. He had his undergrad in aerospace engineering, and then got his doctorate in math while in the Air Force for 22 years. My point on all this is he's a friggin' genius. So then some scraps came down to my next brother, and he's really smart and athletic and all of it. But then they were like, okay, there's more scraps down here. That's what I got. This is what I got to work with. But it was him and his success and what he was doing and pushing the envelope in some areas, again, small town Ohio, and he was doing some pretty big things, that pushed me and got me thinking there's more to life. There's more to this. One of the people who I admired most for the Cleveland Cavaliers when I was there, Chad Estes, who at the time was the president of the Cavs. He's moved on. He's the CMO for the Dallas Cowboys now, and also owns the Legends, which is another really interesting organization. He was just insanely driven. And one of the first days I was there, I'm 24 years old, I think at that point. And we're having these meetings, and I'm sitting with Danny Ferry and Coach Brown. It's ridiculous, the situation that I'm in. And he's having a meeting with all the salespeople, and I don't even know what the heck I'm doing yet. But he said, treat the CEO of a company and the janitor the exact same. Mm-hmm. You're no better or no worse than either one of them. And it's having mentors like that in your life that make you realize we're all the same. No one's better, no one's worse. And if you carry that type of attitude through your whole life, I think it serves you really well. There's a string of people thereafter and during, but those were a couple people that really paved some paths for me and made me understand what this is all about.
That's beautiful, Brandy. I've heard that quote before, and it rings true to me as well, that to treat everyone as equal also helps with not getting intimidated by those ones in the higher up positions. As a 24-year-old, it could be hard, right? Going into a space feeling like you're kind of an imposter in a way, like, what am I doing here? With these people. And how did you at 24 really step into your own by gaining that mentorship that you did, and by being in those situations where you maybe felt like you weren't supposed to be there? Like you said, what am I doing here? So how did you kind of cross over into that confidence with those experiences that you had?
I think the only way to do it is to go through it and push hard while you're doing it. I mean, we had to do night sales for the Cavs when I first got started. Cleveland Cavaliers, it's also Quicken Loans Arena. So you're selling Cleveland Cavalier tickets. We had a minor league hockey team. We had shows like Disney on Ice and all that stuff coming. So you're kind of selling everything. And they would give us Ticketmaster lead sheets at the time. This is a while ago, where it would be like 50 names and numbers on a page because they had bought something at the arena, some tickets to something at some point in the last 5 years. And you are calling them at night to sell these people Mac Pack tickets, which was like Akron Zips and Kent State basketball tickets to their tournament. It's a horrible thing to do on every level. You're calling them at home. You're calling them during dinner. They may have come out to Disney on Ice and you're trying to get them to buy basketball tickets. Horrible. I would leave there at night bawling. Nothing about it was fun. I would completely be lying to say that I enjoyed any of it, because I didn't. I hated it. But my only thought was rep after rep after rep, eventually this isn't going to hurt so bad. So I just think the advice is do it. You've got to get through the miserable to get to the good place. And eventually it just clicks, and you're either really good at it, or you just don't care anymore. Like, it just doesn't have the impact that it did once. So either way, you win.
Do that miserable part to get to the wins, right? We've got to go through the process. And
Yes.
it's about tenacity, isn't it? I mean, if you think about being tenacious, and you said, hey man, you transitioned into the sales role, and now you're the sales profile individual. So if you think about the team that you're leading, what is the culture you're trying to create in your team with this attitude of, the only way to do it is to go through it and, do the miserable to get the results sort of thing. What is the culture you're trying to espouse within your team to make them successful?
Definitely that, but I think a bigger part of me, and I guess I figured this out as I was getting into leadership roles, I want everyone to be having fun. I think this should be fun. I think it should be weird. So the culture is fun, laughter, weird. We're doing this together. I am 100% all about team. I always have been. Sports are a big part of my life. I like a team atmosphere, and we're going to do this together, and we're going to have a hell of a lot of fun doing this together too. I'm a big believer in my favorite thing on the planet to do is laugh and bring this to a place of weird and enjoy it. It should not be, I mean, we're doing boring things. We're selling loans. Like, this is not glamorous at all. You can do it in a way where you're having fun and enjoying yourselves and mixing it up. So that's the culture. That's what I wanted. I wanted this to be very much, it felt like a team. It felt like a family, and we were going to have a heck of a lot of fun doing it.
I love what you're saying, Brandy. You just said it yourself, maybe it's not so fun like selling books, but we're going to make it fun, right? I just love that energy about you and the way that you put a spin on things and the culture that you're trying to create and that you are creating currently. Man, that is just so cool. So what would you say is the hardest part about getting people in line with that vision to laugh more, to have fun and the spin while doing things? Because as a leader, you can do that yourself, right? But how do you get the rest of your team to do that as well?
Yeah. Again, taking people out of their comfort zone. So it's about doing things that make them step out and be goofy, have fun, look like an idiot together. And the more you can do that, the more the walls come down, right? Like you've had some shared experiences that make you feel better and start to do things more effectively. Not to be a shameless plug to you guys, but that's why I wanted Neville and team to be here at Live Oak and work with my team specifically, because we needed training in public speaking for sure. We do a ton of presentations, trade shows, one-on-one. We're actually public speaking every day to customers. But there was another piece to that. I wanted them to have a shared experience where they were having fun, going outside of their comfort zone, pulling down those walls. So it just builds upon itself. I had done Dale Carnegie training 20-ish years ago when I was with the Cavaliers. So uncomfortable. Like oh God, like coming out of my skin with how uncomfortable I was. Like, I probably get heart palpitations if I start thinking about this. Very young, uncomfortable, not a public speaker, any of that stuff. I really wanted to be. I thought I could get there someday, but it was awful / amazing, which is how we described it. Lindsay Harkey, who's the head of our dental team, did that. We did this together with Neville coming down here. And that's what we said. This is going to be amazing and awful and wonderful and uncomfortable and all of the things at one time. And that's exactly what happened. It became a bonding experience for the team. And you watched our team, you watched some folks on our teams day one, uncomfortable, not speaking up, not being weird, not having that much fun, to day two, they're jumping on desks and running out of the office and throwing things. It was like, yes, this worked. We got it. So to me, it's doing that stuff. It was really important to me to keep doing things where I'm kind of forcing a bond with the team and getting them out of their comfort zone. So they want to loosen up a little bit.
That forcing is a key word, because I mean, whether it's parenting, you got to force your kids to do certain things, so that they can do the uncomfortable things. So they become contributing family members. You're forcing your sales team to do things that become contributing team members.
Yeah.
And I think that's part, because growth and comfort does not coexist. So it's driving that process. One of the things you said is that we got to work together. And I think when we show up and we have this fun and we show our vulnerability, we encourage others in the team to see more of who we are, and that kind of encourages them to do the same.
100%.
When you meet someone and you say, hey, they're not part of the team, or they're not finding this, how do we get them to move to other departments where they're better suited, or maybe encourage them to say, hey, this may not be a good fit for you? What is some of the leadership advice that you could give to say, hey, man, this may not be a good fit for you. You've been here for a couple of months, or maybe we're just interviewing them and they're not the right fit. How could we manage that as leaders, possibly in your experience, do you think?
I think I've been a work in progress with this, and I'm continuing to try to get better at it, because I know for myself, I really like direct feedback, even to the point of someone's probably uncomfortable saying it to me, or, it's not that positive or whatever, but I like to think I'm coachable. So I'm not going to get better if you don't tell me where I'm messing this up, I think where we have challenges, myself in particular, is you go through that interview process with someone and you just say, you're not the right fit, or this isn't the right time, or we have someone with more experience, or whatever. When the actual answer is right there, you're just not telling the person because you're afraid of hurting their feelings, or where they're going to take this, or who they're going to talk to, or whatever. I think it's really important as leaders that we try to give as much constructive feedback as possible and help them grow. This isn't a matter of, hey, this doesn't work for you, you're not going to be the right fit. Give it more. Tell them exactly what it is that isn't working, and put them in scenarios where they could. I don't think everyone is meant to be a salesperson by any stretch, but I also don't think that it's a one size fits all. There's multiple ways to do this. So let's walk them through it a little bit, and see what we could do to help them get better in that area, or find a different path based on their strengths. But the only way that happens effectively is when everyone's open and honest. And that's something that's a work in progress for me too.
Yeah, fantastic. Man, I just can't believe where that time is going. And again, just bringing this energy, and it's wonderful. Just a final question, if we could ask you, is around a breakthrough in your life. What was a breakthrough that you got in your life, whether someone helped you get that, or something that happened to you that this became a breakthrough so you could go and become this wonderful, fun, inspiring individual that you actually are now? What would you say that one breakthrough was?
Harry Smith. God, I don't know if this would have come up if I hadn't mentioned the Ticketmaster lead sheets, but this is definitely a ridiculous turning point in my life. So we're doing those late night calls. I mean, this is after you'd worked 8 to 6 and then you're doing the calls afterwards. So, long day, whatever. I'm calling on these Ticketmaster lead sheets. It's miserable. I'm crying. I don't like it, whatever. And I get on the phone with Harry Smith, and Harry was like, I don't know, in his late 50s at this point. And he just took my call, and I'm like, look, I mean, I was as real of me as I could have been. I'm like, look, I suck at this, and I don't even know if you like basketball. And I walked through the story, and I just approached it from a completely different lens. And Harry has a son who really likes basketball. And he's like, do you really think this would be a good experience? I'm like, honestly, yes. And I'm explaining how these games go and watching the tournament. And, even if you're not a fan of basketball, the team camaraderie and what it means for a smaller community, all that stuff. Harry bought the dang Mac pack. It was my first sale ever. Harry and I are still friends on Facebook. I've watched his kids grow up and have children and all that stuff. Just some random guy. It was a turning point for me, for sure, of saying, wait, I think I can do this. I think I can do this a different way. I don't have to be what I talked about on the front end, this slick person, I can stay true to who I am as a person, so long as I never work for a company or sell a product that I don't believe in.
Yeah.
I wholeheartedly believe at any point you don't feel confident in your company, your organization, or the product that you are slinging, get out. If you fully believe in what you're doing and who you're working for, it's not a sales job. I authentically believe this is the best option for you, and here's why. You can have a really, really fantastic career. Harry, it is a turning point.
Brandy, you brought so much passion and realness and authenticity to this podcast. I mean, that last story, it had me like laughing and crying in the same 2 minutes, right? And I think that's just so cool how he was able to have a super big impact on you, and still to this day, like just seeing the smile and emotions when you tell that story, it's just really inspiring. So thank you so much for being on our podcast and providing all this encouragement and laughs and goofiness. I mean,
Yes.
we've gotten a lot of takeaways, and I'm sure our listeners will as well. So thank you for being our guest. If people want to connect with you, how could they do that on social media, Brandy?
So LinkedIn is just my name, Brandy Keck, I think. There's another name out there. Tell me what it is. That's probably the best way. I'm happy to give out my contact information as well here at Live Oak. It's an easy way to get me. My email is Brandy, BRANDY .Keck, KECK at Live Oak, LIVEOAK .bank.
Perfect. We'll put your LinkedIn and email address in the description for people to check out if they'd like to connect with you. And
I forgot how to spell oak, so I think that would be fantastic for you to actually put it in there. It's a challenging word, so.
Perfect. I'll put it in the description. And if you want to follow us on Instagram, listeners, please follow us on Instagram, Greater East NC, and stay connected with us and subscribe. Hit the subscribe button so that you see more awesome guests like Brandy come on. Thank you again, Brandy, and thank you, Neville, for co-hosting. And we will see you on the next episode.
Look forward to the next episode. Thanks, Faith. Thanks so much, Brandy.
Sure.